G'day cocktail lovers. I did a bit of an experiment this week. See, when I have an orange, I basically have it so I can use the peel in old fashions and other cocktails. And then when I finish peeling it, I'm left with an orange. So I juice it, and I don't usually just drink orange juice. So I'll often use that in a clarified cocktail. I'll use it as the clarifying agent. Recently I went looking for an orange and I found out like a bag of oranges was only slightly more expensive than a single good quality orange. So I thought, I'll get the bag. But then I had lots of oranges, so I had lots of orange juice. And I thought, I want to do something creative with this. And so I came up with the idea of doing a syrup. And I was making this up on the fly. I've never really done this before, never seen a recipe for this, but I thought, this will work. And my idea was to make a citrusy sweet and sour mix. Like back in the bad old days of like the 80s in particular, sweet and sour mix was a thing. And the bottled sweet and sour mixes are basically terrible. You're far better off using fresh citrus and sugar syrup. But I thought I could make a good one on my own. So I juiced all the oranges. That made bordering on 500 mils of orange juice. And then I put that in a saucepan and simmered it until I had reduced it by half. I thought that would concentrate the orange flavor in there. And a little tip for reducing by half, one way to do it is when the liquid that you have in there is set to go, put a wooden spoon in there upside down and you see where it comes to, and then you mark that, and then later on you come back when it's been reducing for a while and you see how far down the spoon is it now. Oh, it's halfway down from that mark. It's been reduced by half. When I reached that state, then came some sugar. I added 200 grams of sugar in there. I figured there was about 200 to 250 grams of concentrated orange juice there. I added 200 grams of sugar and dissolved that. And then I thought, I'm gonna make this sour, and I have some citric acid and malic acid I use for making super juice. I thought, we'll put a little bit in there. And I looked up a recipe for acid adjusted orange juice as a guideline. And it had an amount for what you would do with a liter of orange juice. And I thought, okay, well, I started with about half of that. Okay, and then I reduced it by half again. So, I'm gonna be super cautious and do a quarter of what they recommend. So it was only about 8 grams of the citric acid and about 4 or 5 grams of the malic acid. And I put that in and gave it a taste test. And I thought, bingo, that actually tastes pretty good. Also, it looks pretty good. It's quite a nice orange color. I'm yet to use it in a cocktail, so I'm going to make a couple of cocktails. Ones that would traditionally have some citrus and some sugar in them, and I'll just use this sour mix and we'll see how it turns out. The first cocktail I'm going to make is one of my old favorites, a whiskey sour. To make the whiskey sour, I'm going to put 2 ounces or 60 mils of whiskey into our mixing glass, and then 1 ounce of the orange sour mix. To make it foamy, you can use egg white or aquafaba. I'm adding a couple of drops of Wonder Foam. Then we do a dry shake, which means shaking with no ice. Then add ice to the shaker and do the wet shake. Shake it again for another 10 or 15 seconds. And there we have a whiskey sour. Man, that orange really brightens this up. Makes it for a very interesting drink. The whiskey sour was a success. So the second cocktail I am going to make with the orange sour mix is a gimlet. Normally done with lime, like a lime cordial or lime juice and sugar syrup. So I am going to have an orange gimlet. To make an orange gimlet, we start with 2 ounces or 60 mils of a citrus forward gin in our shaker. Then add 1 ounce or 30 mils of the orange sour mix. And that's essentially it. We add ice to our shaker, shake that good and hard for 10 or 15 seconds, and then strain it into a chilled coupe. And there we have an orange gimlet, with hardly any of it spilt on the bar. Oh, that is a nice change up from a lime gimlet as you'd normally get. It's got malic acid to simulate lime, but there's that bright orange thing in there. I really like this one, an orange gimlet.